Hi, let us introduce you to the EARTHSHATTER Berserker build. Slams have great synergy with Warcries, mostly because they're too slow to run out of exertions, but generally deal more damage per hit than other types of attacks. Berserkers are not bound to slam slowly and carefully thanks to the Rite of Ruin, Crave the Slaughter and Warbringer passives. As a Berserker you will have high attack speed and many more exertions applied to your attacks, so you shouldn't run out of them. Almost all of your attacks are boosted with various buffs for combust on kill, more area of effect or double damage. Warcries that won't fit or do not exert are used manually. This build employs almost all Warcries that there are, most of which are linked to auto-exertion, which causes them to reserve mana and grant no buff, but they all have an independent cooldown and are all triggered whenever it's possible, mostly to exert attacks, but also to detonate spikes. The build uses Echoes of Creation Helmet that grants more damage per each individual exertion that affects your attacks, which adds up to a lot as you're using almost all the exertions. To withstand this self-inflicted damage you will need armor, endurance charges, and life regeneration. EARTHSHATTER is a slam attack that creates spikes which you can then detonate using a Warcry or another slam. The reason for selecting this particular skill is this exact feature. You can have only 18 spikes at a time, which is not a lot. You can reach this limit with 3 attacks. The build has great physical damage reduction thanks to armor, elemental damage reduction due to high maximum elemental resistances, and it uses endurance charges that also improve both of these. It's very hard to kill if you have high life regeneration and chaos resistance. Clear speed is good for a melee build. The attack area is vast and your attack speed for leap slamming is high. Single target damage is great too, thanks to Echoes of Creation and overexertion support. The build is cheap and requires no expensive items to work, but it can be if you wish for it to perform better. The only unique item that's exceptionally good is the Echoes of Creation Helmet, which you'll have to get at some point. In almost any case, rare gear pieces are better than uniques because of the 3.25 changes to armor and maximum life. Echoes of Creation, here you will socket the Warcries linked to the urgent orders. It grants up to 75% more damage if all 5 Warcries that can exert your attack do so. To withstand the self-inflicted damage, get some armor. The Eternal Struggle is quite good on its own with the amount of attributes it grants. It increases armor and possesses 2 Eldritch modifiers that can be extremely beneficial. Try to get one with Dominant Exarch for culling. You may implement Brutal Restraint mainly to get the required dexterity. Socket it near stamina. Melding of the Flesh. You're using a lot of rare jewels which may increase one of your maximum elemental resistance by 2% each. Combined with the abundance of rare gear pieces, Eldritch mod on a body armor, Soul of Steel, Prismatic Skin, Nomadic Teachings, and small nodes nearby, you're able to reach 90% of all elemental resistances with no Purity aura. It just so happens that you don't have mana for any other aura than Pride. You might as well use Sublime Vision because of that. You're using Pride. Increased damage is the only good modifier on a Watcher's Eye. Marauder has tons of great passives you can snatch from other ascendancies with a pair of forbidden jewels. We have used Tukohama, but almost anything is good. And the build is very basic. It requires high maximum life, life regeneration, armor, chaos resistance, and if you feel like you can do better, maximum elemental resistances. The damage comes from a weapon. All you need there is high physical DPS. Keep an eye out for attributes. The build requires 155 dexterity and 68 intelligence. On a body armor, seek maximum life and armor with additional physical damage reduction. Resistances and life regeneration can be found here too if needed. For the Eldritch mods, get maximum elemental resistance and increased effect of an aura. For a weapon, get a big Veil Axe with as high physical DPS as you can afford. A lot of maximum life, armor, resistances, and maybe dexterity, commonly found on gloves. For the Eldritch mods, get increased attack speed and increased exerted attack damage. On boots, aim for high maximum life, resistances, and movement speed. The Eldritch mods may grant you action speed and life regeneration per endurance charge. On the belt, again, seek maximum life, resistances, and maybe life regeneration or armor. Various Flask modifiers will also be fitting. On the amulet, focus on maximum life, resistances, and attributes. These are all very common here. Rings are a great source of maximum life, resistances and attributes. You don't really need anything else on them. With 2 large cluster jewels, you'll have 8 jewel sockets to spare. We recommend using jewels to increase a specific elemental resistance for melding of the flesh, but the more generic modifiers for all maximum elemental resistances with no melding will work too. A large physical or attack cluster jewel or 2 with 8 passives and 3 notables from the list is what you're looking for. Crywolf grants damage and increased Warcry power. Lead by example grants onslaught. Find these on medium cluster jewels. A life flask that stops bleeding, a granite, basalt, silver and quicksilver or quartz flask are needed. With lead by example, you won't need silver flask, it already grants onslaught. For their suffixes, get increased armor, increased movement speed, crafted life regeneration, and reduced effect of shock or curses on you. EARTHSHATTER, a slam that creates spikes, later detonated with Warcry to deal a fair amount of damage. Link it up to overexertion, melee physical damage, brutality, pulverize, and fortify support gems. In case you're already fortified by other means, use Fist of War support. Warcries linked to auto-exertion support reserve mana and are triggered automatically. They grant no buffs and are used only to exert attacks, so you might as well keep them all at level 1. Battle Mage's Cry exerts 5 attacks that in this case will have no impact on the attack. General's Cry is a war cry that's also here only for the sake of using a war cry. It doesn't even exert attacks. It has a very short cooldown, so it's great with the lead by example notable. Seismic Cry exerts 6 attacks to grant them 50% more AoE. Rallying Cry exerts 5 attacks. If you have allies, such as Sentinels of Purity, it will grant you 5% more damage per ally. In your Echoes of Creation, you will socket the Urgent Orders setup. These war cries are used manually because they grant useful buffs. Intimidating Cry and Infernal Cry can be swapped with war cries in the auto-exertion setup, or added in there if you have another 6-link. Enduring Cry grants endurance charges and regenerates life. Use it often. Intimidating Cry exerts 2 attacks, and causes them to deal double damage. It's the most potent exertion. The buff increases your movement speed. Infernal Cry exerts 6 attacks. The first exerted attack triggers Combust on hit. Combust deals fire damage based on enemy's maximum life. The buff grants fire damage as extra physical damage. Molten Shell prevents a portion of hit damage before it expires or can absorb no more. Link it up with cast when damage taken. You take a lot of damage constantly to yourself, so it will proc often. Leap Slam is a movement attack to move faster and jump over rocks and ledges. Link it with faster attacks, maim, and life tap. Enemies maimed with it will take increased physical damage. Use Blood Rage for life leech, more attack speed, and frenzy charges on kill. With Pride, nearby enemies take increased physical damage. This effect is double as effective after 4 seconds of continuous exposure. Vulnerability. Cursed enemies take 30% increased physical damage. Slay all the bandits, kill them all. For the major god, pick Brine King for the freeze immunity, reduced effect of chill, and to not get stunned many times in a row. For a minor god, select Abarath if your life regeneration is low or you're scared of ignite. If not, get Gruthkul. It grants physical damage reduction, which is active very often due to self-damage with Echoes of Creation. The passive skill tree provides maximum life, armor, endurance charges, maximum elemental resistances, war cry enhancements, maximum rage, physical damage, and some axe damage. Your sole keystone is the Resolute technique because you don't crit. Your masteries are Mana Reservation Efficiency for Mana Mastery, Armor Mastery for +1% to all maximum elemental resistances, Physical Mastery for 50% chance to ignore enemies' physical damage reduction, Rage Mastery for +7 to maximum rage, and 2 Warcry Masteries, one for a minimum of 10 Warcry power, and another one to not exert Leap Slam. 3.27 did not affect this build in the slightest. The only noteworthy addition is the potential power of a Bloodline Ascendancy. Schizophrenic Dissociation is great with high life recovery, for example. And that is all. Thank you for staying till the end. Bye.